I'm sorry, but I do not like pinstriping on an old Benz. Probably one of the first things I do when I get one of these cars, get rid of that pinstriping. I know it's a personal opinion, but I really do not like the looks of this pinstriping. It's coming off today. The procedure I'm going to show you here will only work on the stick-on type of pinstriping that's on this 300D. It's not going to work if it's been painted on. But this is really sticky and it's on there, so you have to be a little careful. You don't want to damage the paint. So what I do is I use a heat gun and a plastic scraper. Keep in mind that this scraper has to stay reasonably sharp and you have to be careful. Just because it's plastic does not mean it cannot damage the paint. And you have to be careful with the heat gun. You don't want to use too high a heat or you'll damage the paint. So I run the heat gun on low, and what I do is take an area, it's probably 2 feet, and I start warming it up, and I keep my hand on it to feel when it's getting not so hot you can't touch it, but let's say maybe 150 to 180 degrees is about where I want it. Once again, I've got the heat gun on low. When this starts to warm up to the point where my fingers are feeling a little uncomfortable, then I'll come in with the scraper. And if you do this just right, you can scrape this off and get most of it. And I keep the heat gun just a little bit ahead of this tape. I've got to switch because I realized that scraping with my left hand is a little uncoordinated. So I'll use the heat gun in my left hand. Keep the heat gun moving. Do not leave it in one spot or you'll overheat the paint. Okay, I think that gives you a pretty good idea how I'm going to get this pinstriping off. And then I'll come back and show you how we're going to detail it with some polishing compound and wax. When you finish scraping it with a scraper, it's going to look a little bit like this. You're going to have a few spots of white pinstriping still there, and you're going to have all this goo. Well, if you haven't used it already, you want to use Goog Off, or I've got a product called Goog On right there. So we're going to get this Goog On. I'll start out by using a heavy terry cloth type old rag because I'm going to have to scrub away on this glue. You can see I'm leaving a couple of spots. If you have good fingernails, you can get those with a fingernail, or even a plastic razor blade works real well to get these real small spots of tape that are still left. Then I'll get a clean cloth like this one and do another application of this Goog On or Goog Off, because you've got a little bit of film there that you need to get off. And we're going to get all that film off of there before we come after this with a little polishing compound. The final step is to take that area where the pinstriping was and use a rubbing compound and then finish it off with a wax. Keep in mind, if the pinstriping has been on a long time and the paint has faded, you may still see a line there, and it may not be possible to get it completely out. But this is just going to take a little elbow grease. And I'll polish it until I think it's good enough. And then I'll go ahead and put a coat of wax on it, and I'll be done. Now you'll notice I also pulled the chrome strips off because they were loose, and I wanted to clean and wax in behind them and then install all new clips before reinstalling the chrome strips on the side of these doors. So this is what it looks like without pinstriping. You don't get to be the judge because it's my car and I do not like pinstriping.